Zuo-kai opened his eyes to an unfamiliar place. Confused, he wondered if it was a guest room. He then remembered that someone had taken him away during his coma, and he couldn't help but wonder about their motives. Regardless, he deemed such details unimportant compared to the worsening injuries plaguing his body. But he found this race against death amusing. He knew that if he couldn't cultivate his kai as soon as possible and stabilize his injuries, he was going to die. Reflecting on his previous life born into poverty, he recalled practicing unconventional martial arts techniques in his youth. The lack of a solid foundation in his initial cultivation hindered his progress, and this minor shortcoming seriously slowed down the advancement of his subsequent cultivation. Just as the height of a building and the difficulty of its construction depend on the quality of its foundation. But now he had a chance to do it again. There were many cultivation techniques in his mind, and coupled with decades of practice experience, it was just a matter of time before he surpassed his past self. After some thinking, he deemed the pure yang technique as the perfect cultivation technique for this body. In a matter of breaths, he successfully extracted the true kai of the pure yang technique. Confidence surged as he acknowledged the innate talent of this body. However, suddenly the true kai vanished, and he had no idea what was going on. Zuo-kai, determined to unravel the mystery of his body's changes, resolved to attempt the phase-less technique once more. Through experimenting with various techniques like innate kai gong, the Jade Heart Sutra, the Great Prajna Nirvana Dharma, and Kundalini Yoga, he discovered that all cultivated kai inexplicably vanished. But he refused to believe that his body couldn't cultivate, because if that were true, he should have died long ago. On the contrary, he could feel the wounds on his body healing themselves. A smile graced his face as he contemplated the possibility that the recently cultivated kai might be absorbed by his body, and he could sense that his body was undergoing wonderful changes. But his training was interrupted as Glasses Guy entered the room and expressed relief after seeing him awake. He cursed the people who had refused to provide Zuo-kai with medication and treatment, leaving him to die. He had only managed to clean and bandage his wounds, and he feared that Zuo-kai might not survive. Zuo-kai simply thanked him for helping and asked for his name. He promised to repay the favor sooner or later. In shock, Glasses Guy revealed himself as Meng Guangxian, his classmate and best friend. He urged him not to make such jokes and asked if he had lost his mind. However, Zuo-kai remained unfazed and claimed that he didn't remember him and didn't need friends as they only made him upset. Meng Guang, concerned, asked if he had truly lost his memory. Zuo-kai admitted that his mind was in a mess and he couldn't remember anything that happened before. He then asked Meng Guang for clarification on his identity and the reason he was there. Meng Guang, realizing the extent of Zuo-kai's memory loss, began recounting the entire story. Zuo-kai nodded in comprehension as the details unfolded. The explanation revealed a world invaded by monsters, where humanity had suffered significant territorial losses and sought peace through compromise. Both of them were students at Western Mountains University. To prevent the signing of a peace agreement, they participated in street demonstrations orchestrated by rebels. However, the true objective was to kidnap Diplomat and Zhengmin. The plan went awry, resulting in Zhengmin's death at Zuo-kai's hands, leading to their imprisonment. Meng Guang reassured him that the rebels wouldn't abandon them, expressing confidence in an imminent rescue. However, Zuo-kai detected a lack of conviction in his tone and questioned the strength of the rebels, asking how many monsters they had successfully dealt with. Meng Guang, wearing a serious expression, disclosed that the rebels had successfully eliminated 10,000 monsters and more than 1,300 human traders. Impressed by the figures, Zuo-kai inquired about the number of casualties they had inflicted yesterday. Meng Guang appeared confused, prompting Zuo-kai to seek clarification on whether the mentioned figure was the total number. Meng Guang, at a loss for words, admitted that the rebels were not a regular army. Zuo-kai's demeanor shifted, and he labeled the rebels as weak. He advised against relying on them and declared his intent to take action. After some time, Meng Guang noticed a change in Zuo-kai's demeanor and expressed concern about his body, which was still in the process of recovery. However, Zuo-kai insisted that he was almost fully healed. As they walked, Zuo-kai abruptly halted and expressed his surprise. Concerned, Meng Guang asked if he was feeling unwell. However, Zuo-kai, astonished, questioned if people in this country were crazy. They were allowing criminals to reside in such elegant houses. He couldn't help but wonder if this was indeed a prison. It was excessively luxurious. Meng Guang was slightly exasperated as he explained that, as students of Western Mountains University, they held a special status. Therefore, even if they were imprisoned, they would not be allowed to live in a place that was too dirty. A group of students arrived, and one of them exclaimed in joy, confirming that Zuo-kai was awake. They expressed surprise at his audacious act of assassinating Jengmin and preventing the peace agreement. Some envisioned him becoming a historical heroic figure and requested his autograph for future value. However, a student in the corner displayed contempt and sarcastically dismissed the idea of Zuo Kai being a hero. Then Guang, irritated, called out to the student named Zhu Xuan, urging him to voice his opinion without sarcasm. Zhu Xuan retorted, telling Meng Guang to step aside and ask Zuo Kai if he really wanted to be a hero. He pointed out that Zuo Kai had said he was going to a parade, but he had hidden the truth and assassinated a diplomat in secret, and now he was proud of it. He was feeling great about himself, but what about them? Zhu Xuan asked him if he was satisfied now that so many of them had been imprisoned. But Zuo Kai didn't even look at him and declared that he didn't care. Meng Guang vehemently defended Zuo Kai, emphasizing the risks he had taken to assassinate the diplomat and prevent the peace agreement. He challenged Zhu Xuan, asking if he regretted their actions. Fueled by anger, Zhu Xuan admitted that he regretted it. He pointed out that in the past 3 days, 6 students had been taken in for questioning by the warden, but they never returned. Everyone could already guess what had happened to all those students. Zhu Xuan was sure that they were all going to die, and no one would save them. He then voiced concerns about the girls who had been locked up in another area, and the mistreatment they might have suffered. At that moment, the prison warden arrived and started speaking, noting that it was lively here and remarking that he might have come at the wrong time. Then Guang confronted the warden, accusing him of taking more people for so-called questioning sessions and demanding the return of their classmates. The warden smiled slyly and told them to take it easy. He felt that they should have been feeling very depressed these days, so after some thinking, he had brought them a little entertainment. He then ordered 2 guards to bring in a TV, who followed his order and brought it swiftly. Zuo Kai sarcastically expressed gratitude to the warden for the luxurious accommodations, remarking that the entertainment was a nice touch. In a seemingly considerate tone, he declared his intention to plan a jailbreak later. As he tapped on the TV, he questioned how to operate the device and wondered why it wasn't responding. The warden recognized Zuo Kai as the one who dared to assassinate Jengmin. He decided to deal with him later, as there would be plenty of time to talk afterward. He then turned on the TV, broadcasting live news. The anchor announced the arrival of peace after 30 days of talks between humans and wanderers from different worlds. The 1-year war had caused significant losses on both sides, and today at the border of the Western Mountains, humans and monsters had reached a peace agreement. One of the students was overwhelmed and fell to his knees, wearing a hopeless expression as he questioned the purpose of their efforts upon learning that the peace agreement had been signed. In contrast, Meng Guang dismissed the news as fake, refusing to believe that the agreement could be finalized so quickly after the death of the foreign minister. The warden found amusement in mocking their expectations, questioning the impact a few students could have on changing the course of the world. He scoffed at the notion that the death of one diplomat could alter the destined future of 2 races. With a sinister smirk, he persisted in taunting, labeling the students as losers abandoned by the Western Mountains provisional government. He asserted that the rebels wouldn't waste their strength on them, and their sole value lay in serving as experimental subjects in the prison. Meng Guang, incensed by the mention of experimental subjects, demanded to know what had happened to his classmates. He remarked that if what was going on in prison was exposed by the news media, then consequences would be significant. However, the warden, sporting an evil smile, asserted that they wouldn't find out, and even if they did, people would just praise him for shaping the future of humans in warfare. He then pushed Meng Guang away, asserting that today wasn't his turn. The experimental subject for the day was the great hero who had returned from the dead, Zuo Kai. Unfazed, Zuo Kai smiled at the warden and inquired if he had finished speaking. Finding the situation amusing, he dared the warden to entertain him further, cautioning that he might be compelled to escape otherwise. Meng Guang, in frustration, slammed his hand against the wall and proclaimed that they couldn't wait any longer. He declared that the only ones who could save them were themselves, emphasizing the need to act as soon as possible. Zhu Xuan erupted in anger, questioning Meng Guang's newfound heroism. He reminded him of their classmates' arrest 2 days earlier, and criticized his inaction at that time. Meng Guang defended himself, explaining that the situation had changed since the peace agreement was signed. He urged Zhu Xuan to join the resistance against Warden and escape from their dire circumstances to avoid becoming experimental subjects and facing death. However, Zhu Xuan accused him of being motivated solely by concern for Zuo Kai, who had been taken away by the warden. Meng Guang clarified that it wasn't just Zuokai he wanted to save. Other classmates, including girls held in different areas, had also been taken away in recent days. Amidst the tense exchange, a student on his knees laughed cynically, expressing doubt about their ability to save anyone. He highlighted Warden's prowess as a hunter in the prison's defense by several monsters, asserting their powerlessness. Suddenly, a student seized Meng Guang's collar and sarcastically remarked on the greatness of killing the Minister of Foreign Affairs. However, in the end, a peace agreement was still signed, and now they had become victims of the situation. Zhu Xuan then declared his indifference to Zuo Kai's fate, even if he was being used as an experimental subject, and stated that he would never save him. In the prison laboratory, a doctor diligently noted on a notepad, detailing adjustments to the experimental protocol. He mentioned a reduction in the catalyst dosage and the reformulation of agent number 4, marking the commencement of the 305th experiment at 2:10 p.m. A blonde girl, bound to a seat, expressed her distress as she questioned Sun Menju about her decision to work for them. Sun Menju responded with a chilling smile, stating that she would do anything for survival. She recounted the fate of 12 classmates who, in previous experiments, transformed into puddles of mud while writhing in pain. Rather than feeling fear, she found herself laughing at their demise. The blonde girl, desperate to reach her friend, insisted that this wasn't the real Sun Menju and implored her to wake up. She reminded her of their friendship, but Menju, with cold eyes, dismissed the notion. She asserted that they were never friends and confessed a deep-seated dislike for her rich girl behavior. Determined to proceed, she prepared to inject the blonde girl. As the syringe approached, the room filled with the harrowing screams of the blonde girl. Outside the lab, Zuo Kai was escorted in by the warden, his attention piqued by the piercing scream emanating from within. Unfazed, he casually mentioned that the scream was making him sleepy. He questioned the warden, asking if he had brought him there just to torture him with a bunch of nonsense. The warden assured him that he wouldn't be disappointed. He opened the lab door and welcomed him to witness the most exciting scene. Before them lay the unrecognizable form of the blonde girl, writhing in pain and pleading for help. Sun Menju, indifferent to the suffering, kicked her and expressed disdain for the repulsive transformation. The warden expressed pity for another failed experiment. The doctor explained that the concept behind agent number 4 was accurate. By reducing the catalyst, the experimental subject retained its form after death instead of turning into a pool of blood. Zuo Kai maintained a calm demeanor and questioned if this was what he wanted to show him, the transformation of humans into monsters. Prison warden, in a triumphant tone, agreed and emphasized that this was a discovery that could change the world. He proclaimed himself as the pioneer who would bring about this change. Zuo Kai expressed skepticism and stated that, to him, it seemed like he simply enjoyed killing people. The warden countered, explaining that the ultimate goal was to end the war between humans and monsters. According to his rationale, only when all humans transformed into monsters could true peace prevail. He revealed that, until now, there had been only one successful record of a human transforming into a monster across countless conquered worlds. However, with the technological advancements in their world, the monster transformation experiment had made significant progress, even garnering the attention of a powerful being who was once human. Upon hearing this, Zuo Kai grew excited and questioned whether the monster who had relinquished its humanity was also present. The warden clarified that the power of these beings far exceeded that of a mere legion, making their current world unable to bear their might. Nevertheless, on the day of their arrival, pioneers like him would receive great praise. The warden then proclaimed that, for his brilliant future, Zuo Kai, a great sinner who had assassinated the Minister of Foreign Affairs, would become a part of his achievements. Suddenly, a mysterious power enveloped Zuo Kai, rendering him immobile. The warden then handed Sun Menju a syringe and instructed her to administer the number 4 agent to Zuo Kai. Curious to observe its effects on a martial artist, Sun Menju, hesitant and concerned for her safety, questioned the warden about the potential danger. She pointed out that Zuo Kai, being a martial artist, could kill her if she approached recklessly. With a wicked expression, the warden reassured her, expressing satisfaction with her service both in the morning and at night. Since she was such a useful tool, how could he be willing to let her die? He told her not to worry, as he had restricted Zuo Kai's movements with his mental power, asserting that he couldn't even move a finger. Zuo Kai acknowledged the utilization of mental power and inquired whether it stemmed from the prowess of a hunter, expressing his interest. The warden, wearing a sly smile, emphasized the substantial disparity between martial artists and hunters, encouraging Sun Menju to proceed with the administration of the agent. Sun Menju blamed him because it was his fault that all his classmates had fallen into this predicament. She justified her actions by saying that she just wanted to live and pleaded for him to remain quiet, and still, the warden, reveling in the spectacle, taunted Zuo-kai, questioning how it felt to be betrayed by a companion. He emphasized that martial artists who have been abandoned are more valuable when turned into monsters. Sun Menju swung the syringe towards Zuo-kai, bidding him farewell with a scornful remark. However, Zuo-kai maintained a calm demeanor and encouraged her to say it again. But before she could bid farewell once more, Zuo-kai swiftly grasped her hand and injected the syringe into her own neck. Sun Menju, shocked and frightened, pleaded with him to swiftly withdraw the syringe. Without hesitation, Zuo-kai injected the serum into her neck and questioned if this was how a syringe was used. Prison warden, taken aback, wondered what was going on, as he was sure that he had immobilized Zuo-kai with his power. Meanwhile, Sun Menju transformed into a monster and told Warden that she was hungry. She then attacked the warden, but nimble on his feet, he managed to evade her assault. Unfortunately, the doctor was not as fortunate and fell prey to the monster's jaws. As the monster devoured the doctor, the prison warden heard Zuo-kai counting backward from 5 to 1. The warden turned to him in anger and demanded to know why he was counting. With a confident smile, Zuo-kai explained that he was counting down the time it would take for his injuries to fully recover. Seizing the opportunity, Zuo-kai grabbed prison warden's head and forcefully smashed it into the ground. With a decisive tone, he declared that now he could meet his end. Episode ends here. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.